Well, so we have to introduce our guest for the morning. I have Fred Amankwasafo, a PhD thesis student at the Information Studies Department. Doctoral student, yes, of the University of Ghana.
Formation Systems.
Formation Systems, Amokano. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining me this morning. It's been a while. You haven't had time. You've been campaigning.
Exactly.
Had been an aspirant, but later withdrew from the chairmanship race of the MPP. All right, and asking what accounted for that withdrawal. But I have the South Dine Member of Parliament, but also a legal practitioner, Roxanne Nelson Dapamapo. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, Roland. Good morning to
my
brother. Good morning. Good morning to my constituents.
Yes,
notably. And
that's right. That's right. I love those names when you keep mentioning them. Well, good retentive memory. Legal practitioners always do that. And why did you withdraw then? I have to ask you. It was a good conference, though.
It's over now. Good morning to our viewers. I withdrew on good counsel. I listened to the delegates and I realized that I wasn't going to get, honestly, I wasn't going to get the numbers to be able to win. And so then the most important thing was to withdraw and then back the potential winner. So that's what I did.
Okay. So
it was a personal decision based on my research findings that showed me that I wasn't going to get enough numbers to win.
So that's why the withdrawal?
That was the reason for the withdrawal.
Okay. We do understand that. We'll take it that you also keep your pages active, because you're a man of immense contribution to our politics. So
thank you very much for your kind words.
So don't go dead on us.
No, I'm not going dead on you at all. I'm always available on call.
Right, Fred Amankwasafo. And it looks like you just organized your constituency elections to elect your executive. So you're going national?
No, we'll go to regional next.
Okay, regional next.
Yeah,
what's the timetable?
We tentatively, I have had discussions with the regional chairman, and we are told that we are likely to hold the regional conference by the end of August. So that's about a month and a half away.
Regional?
Yes, but I suspect that the nomination forms should be released to the aspirants to pick up from about Monday. Yes, from about Monday or soon after Monday.
Wow.
And so once the forms are picked, then the race is on. It's no longer done from under the cover of darkness.
Right. Somebody was teasing some of your folks on social media that for an opposition party, you seem to be late in getting the hurdles right.
No.
It's not a race.
No, it's not a race at all.
Right. But a lot of things have been happening on the front. But let's start with health. We'll bring you an insight from the health minister. And then also we'll look at another directive also coming from the Ghana Health Service Director General. And Dr. Nsia Asare is saying that no hospital in our country should turn away patients. But at the same time, the health minister has also been talking about how ordinary headache and other ailments should be treated at a local level. And so we'll come to the details of that. But let's play you that insight from the health minister, Kwekuaji Maimenu, and then we'll come back and we'll do some discussions on the subject of the unavailability of beds in our major hospitals, in the smaller clinics that we have in the communities, and main issues of not getting access for ordinary Ghanaians.
When you go into an emergency, they check you and try to see how critical your condition is. So some are flagged red, some are flagged yellow, some are flagged green. If you are not in the red zone, they don't attend to you as an emergency. So you sit there and let them finish with the red ones first. So if you know you are not going to be in the red, right, why do you go there and put a green there? Then you sit there for 3 hours. Then we have congestion in the A&E. So our conduct too is another problem. But we're going to do public education on some of these things, because it's not only resources that can take away some part of the burden. You see, strategy is another count. I mentioned about 7 satellite polyclinics that were supposed to take off some of the pressure from Kolebu. But some of us are refusing even to go there. At the slight thing, we are in Kolebu. So we are working on that. And I believe within the next 1 week or two, we'll come up with certain things that will show to the Ghanaian population that we are working to try to bring down these type of challenges we have.
Well, as far as we're concerned, Fred, let me start with you. This is what cuts across. It affects everybody. And then it's also a situation where we have the smaller clinics suffering from the lack of equipment to treat some ailment, and so tend to do the referrals. So it cannot just be that people just have an ordinary headache, is it?
Well, I think that the Minister of Health is asking that we do not rush to Kolebu, so that there'll be less pressure on Kolebu, since Kolebu is a referral hospital from across the country. And so rather than taking, quote and unquote, supposedly small ailments to Kolebu, we rather would want to look at it at the smaller clinics. Kolebu has a polyclinic as well. So going to Kolebu does not necessarily mean that you're going to an emergency center or you're going to the teaching hospital. There's a polyclinic that can take care of us all. What it needed and what government is working hard on is to be able to provide the needed equipment, beds, and expand the health facilities across the country, so that I'm sure that people will come to Kolebu, because over the years, that is where everybody thinks that, come on, if the last point is Kolebu, why don't I go to Kolebu first? But we need to educate ourselves to ensure that the other smaller clinics across the country are well resourced, such that citizens will feel comfortable taking ailments to. But most importantly also is the preventive side of the health. I think whilst we are at this, all of us trooping to the hospital, and then lack of beds, lack of facilities, keeping us all at bay when it comes to health issues, we should also be looking, the health ministry should be looking at preventive health issues and advocating for us all to ensure that our environment and our health are taken seriously, rather than wait till we get so ill and then rush to Kolebu and put so much pressure on it. I think that the health minister's statement should be taken in the context of the rush to go to Kolebu on the least provocation when it comes to health issues, rather than saying that people should be turned away coming. It's an advice, but sometimes when you are ill, you never know which is very serious and which is not until you are diagnosed by a competent medical doctor, medical officer. We should be careful of our health and look more in preventing health crisis rather than rushing to the hospitals.
How do we then synchronize this with what the health services is, the Ghana Health Service is saying, that hospitals and other government accredited hospitals should not turn away patients too?
I believe the directive from the Director General of Ghana Health Service about 2 or 3 weeks ago was in response to the crisis that the hospitals are going through as a result of the no bed syndrome. All right. So if you recall, some patients died, and it made the headlines that, for instance, a 76-year-old man was turned away because.
I mean, it's the genesis of all this theory.
No, it's been happening.
Yes, it does.
But I think his death, somebody decided to make news out of that.
His son.
Yes.
Posted it on Facebook.
And it shocked the conscience of the nation. So it engendered a general debate. And so government came under attack. So the GS, Director General, the DG, or however they call him.
The Director General of the GHS.
Of the GHS, decided to issue this fiat to all hospitals that do not turn away any patient on grounds that you have no bed. So about 3 days ago, you see somebody also brought photographs from Kolebu showing a situation where patients have come because there are no beds. Now they are buying plastic chairs, you know, just for them to sit down, awaiting medical attention. But the minute I want to agree, or I agree with the minister. You see, for instance, I have a clinic in my village in Tongo Chanakwe. We call it JJ Clinic because it was inaugurated by, or it was facilitated by JJR during his time. You don't have to travel to Peki Government Hospital, which is about 30 kilometers away.
To access?
No, not to access. To attend hospital for headache. If you suspect that you have headache, your temperature is up,
or some minor.
Yes, you don't have to do that. That's what
the health
minister is saying.
Okay.
So we must place some of these things in context. That you don't have to leave Achimota and drive to Kolebu because you have stomach upset, because you have headache. Indeed, I agree with my brother that sometimes the medical symptoms, a small medical condition will be a tip of the iceberg. And that your headache could be as a result of the fact that you have serious medical issues. Maybe
you could have a
cardiac issues and all that, but it will be triggered by the headache. But in context, the minister is right. Don't travel from Medina to Kolebu because you have stomach upset, you have headache, you have osteoporosis, you have pains in your leg and all that. Access facilities in your vicinity, in your neighborhood first. Then you'll be going to Kolebu upon a referral. But the nature of the way we do things now, we flood Kolebu, we inundate Kolebu with small trivial medical situations. And he makes the point that yes, Kolebu also has a polyclinic. But because they are all found in the same physical area premises, you just don't get the difference. So my point is that I want to play with government that the talk is too much. They should open all the CHIPS compounds that the NDC built that are not operational.
How many do you know, for example?
No. For instance, in my district, 2 are not operational. One
they've been completed.
They've been completed.
Equipped.
One at Chukbukofe near Kpeve is not functional because of completed, opened, but medical supplies is not coming. 2, there's one at Peki Wudome. It's completed, but we hear that the certain facility utilities, i.e. electricity and water, and they are approaching 2
So you're
years.
saying the facilitation of
Yes.
those?
And two or three more under construction. One is at Sanga, one is at Ekpeibome, all in my district. I speak just of my district. If we do that, then the people from Ajebi, people from Sanga Chiemu, they will go to Sanga Chips compound first for some of this treatment. They wouldn't have to travel to Peki. So you'll be going to Peki.
Malaria. You don't need to.
Exactly. So I agree with the minister, but they have decided not to deal with some of these outstanding facilities and operationalize them. I don't want to talk about those that have made the headlines.
Which ones?
Like Ridge, like UGMC,
Ridge is being partially operated.
Partially. What's the meaning of partially? We are told that next week, Wednesday, they will open University of Ghana Medical Center, also on partial grounds. Why? Why are we subjecting ourselves to some of these things? So if we marry our talks with our actions, then we'll be resolving the issues methodically. But if we just speak and tell the people that don't rush to Kolebu, and yet the University of Ghana Medical Center is lying fallow, then you are not helping the situation. You are not marrying your talk with your actions. So this will be my preliminary remarks on the matter.
But how do we get the allied hospitals and clinics to operate under a certain regime, which is in conformity to what the norm should be? Because clearly this looks like a misnomer.
Yes, it does, and I think that I agree. We need to fast track opening of the clinics, the ones that have been completed. But sometimes some of these things don't just come up. You will go back and you see that these supplies that you're talking about, previous government had already paid, and it's not forthcoming. I'm not saying that for a fact, but it is possible that if you take so much and if you look at the specifications, what went into it,
and then what you're coming to see now,
and then what you're coming to see,
it just doesn't. And sometimes you have to realign.
Exactly,
and so that is why some of them have not been opened.
Yeah, that's
you have to ask the contractor, why is it that this is on paper that you may have collected this, or the certificate is saying this, and then what we have in the
equipment is supposed to have.
It's like the situation of the ambulances.
Yes, a certificate has been given out, but you go there, the place is still empty, and so but that is not to say that we would wait until something untoward happens.
The untoward is already happening. Right? That's a reality that we face.
We are in government, and we need to fast track some of these processes to ensure that these chip compounds and hospitals that have been opened. And Legon has been in the news for quite a while, and I'm glad that at least by next week we should start something. We should start it, and then we move along. If we look at the cost component of Legon, I mean, what it's so high.
The Legon hospital.
Yeah, exactly.
How much did we spend? 289.
It's so high, and that.
No, I think we spent 200. I think initially, because I was briefed by the Honorable Kwame Agboja, they were involved. What they said was that because of the cost component, they separated it. So they took the 50 out and approved of 150. So what cabinet just approved, the 50, was actually part of the original.
Is it dollars or euros?
Yes, it's in dollars.
That's in dollars.
Yes, but so the 50 should be able to finish whatever has done.
Because now the structure is finished, right?
Well, you have not.
And all the equipment are.
There are two phases. The first phase is completed. The equipment was still lying down there.
But a lot have been installed.
Yes.
Have been there.
Yes.
When the issues have been,
some of the equipment,
the opposition.
Some of the equipment you cannot install them. You have to wait until the doctors and the engineers are ready, and you have to install them, and it is working.
And what some of them to their warranty has run out.
The warranty issues are also running out.
No. You see, that is why, as part of the commencement phase, they were to recruit biomedical engineers. They do the installations. You just don't install the medical equipment. The person has to have the background.
Exactly.
You know,
and the suppliers of the equipment will have to also
I
have
agree.
to
I agree. But you suspended all those processes. That's my worry.
No,
the recruitment of the staff.
Well, government needed to look into
it. You see, it's not about looking. You can look into things once the thing is being operationalized.
You're sure about that?
Yes. A lot of the energy agreements we are reviewing, the facilities are operational.
The plants are running.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
But it's because that was more pressing, or seemed to be more.
Health is more pressing than energy.
Yeah, I know.
We can live without energy, but we can't live without health. Look at the situation of the Bank of Ghana Hospital, for instance. It's also lying fallow.
Where is that facility? Where is it located?
Asking this government.
No, but where is it located? I've seen the pictures on websites.
I'll tell you.
Why is it located? I want to know where it is located. I've seen it. It's a nice building.
Yes, it's lying fallow.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm certain that government is not relenting on some of these things at all. Health is very, very important.
Like
and I also think that we should take the physical development of Accra thermal conurbation into consideration. We need another hospital, major hospital along the Pram Dowena arterial
because now
stretch.
new sites are developing.
Exactly. That is why we built the Shire Hills, the Shire Hills health facility. Is to take care of that region. Shire, Apollonia,
Tripoli,
Dodowa.
Well, I think that we can make cases for others as well.
And Kaswa.
Yes, Kaswa is there.
That stretch.
The traffic that comes into Accra Center is so huge that if you even in an ambulance, sometimes it's very difficult to get
the ambulance are no longer effective. because our roads,
They're so
even our
choked.
arterial roads are choked.
So it's not
we
just
need ambulance
it's not just
helicopters.
hospital. I think that other facilities
train
that
facilities,
other facilities
build
that
We
trains,
need ambulance
build
helicopters
trains
now.
exactly
build trains,
Trams.
exclusive lane for buses, etc., so that we free the main ones. So that people like you and Fred can only be driving.
You know the way our engineers.
I didn't change the capital to another place.
Maybe
altogether.
locate it to Kumasi.
No, Afram plates.
From place.
Well,
That's where we need another commission.
Let the engineers take
Afram
that
plates.
decision.
Okay.
It's equidistant, and they have the land. You know.
So you agree that we have to be thinking about relocating the
Abuja
capital,
did it. Nigeria did it, so-
relocating the capital city.
And Equatorial Guinea is also doing it.
It's not untoward.
No, we are responding to
The challenges of the moment.
challenging developments of the time. Accra will still remain its economic hub and all that.
But what the medical
But we need helicopters as ambulance now. honestly.
but what the medical doctors and those who manage the hospital, the public facilities are telling us is that the equipment and other paraphernalia that are needed are just not in good supply.
You know, they are, but they are expensive.
And so
They are expensive.
we have to contend with what we have.
We are unable to maintain them properly. That's part of the problem. So I don't want to mention some hospitals. You go, if you see the some of the medical equipment that they are so old. They are not properly maintained, because you see the maintenance, like your camera and its stand, you can maintain it sometimes when it's still functional and it's still effective. You can even respray it to look new. We don't do those things. Some of the paints or some of the medical equipments are peeling off. You see the raw metal, but that is what we are using.
Try Legon, the old Legon hospital.
Yes.
Try the old
It's
Legon
incredible.
hospital. I think it's also about our maintenance culture. It's not just the hospitals.
See, hospital bed and it's rusty.
The schools, when you go to our secondary schools, you go to our universities, you have government, even the ministries, you go and you see the buildings and the equipment. You see some of them are quite old that do not fit for purpose. So as a nation, we need to take charge of. But it's a developing country, the money is not also available, and you need to charge realistic rates for it. And people are also finding other clandestine means of taking the little what we have. If you go to the health sector, for example, the national health insurance and the demand, people, the leakage in our
public system.
The public system is so huge. That is what makes me happy that at least we have a government that is ready to use digital technology. We did that with the ports. We are doing it with the licensing office. We should extend this to the universities and to the hospitals, so that paperwork and inefficient ways of doing things, you can trace. If people are writing receipts, they can do all manner of things with the money that is collected without banking them. So let's find other innovative means. It's not like the money are not available. If you see the buildings that are springing up in Accra, especially with the banks, where are they getting the money from? From the same community, from Ghana. So there are opportunities that we can use innovative means to ensure that at least we block the leakages, have enough money to be able to maintain the equipment across all sectors of the economy.
Okay, so let's move on. Talking about digitization, for which we need to introduce technologies to do many things. I guess that's why we launched the Ghana GPS.
Exactly.
Even though we're expected to reap the returns, it's not coming as quickly as we want.
I'm sure.
But
yes.
in relation to
Yes.
that, we're told that inflation has risen to 10%. We're back into the double-digit figures. We experienced some relative stability over the last 2 months of the financial year, but we're gone up. But the main issue is a budget review. We expect the finance minister to appear before Parliament for, and already we've had some speaking notes being given to the finance minister. Dr. Osei Asibe, who is a senior fellow at the Institute of Economic Affairs, also with the economics department of the University of Ghana, is already advising that we need to adopt an aggressive tax policy, try also to propose a rising tax to fund our development. Now, let's look at this realistically. The thing is that we had a dream of expanding the tax net. Indeed, the first time I heard that comprehensively was when I watched the vetting of the first finance minister of the MPP, Yaw Safumafo. Very impressive. I was the lead reporter then. And I thought that we would have gone far with expanding the tax net. We have the same people paying tax. If we have to increase taxes, we'll be the same people. How do we broaden the tax net? Well, instead of saying that consistently we just have to tax the already overtaxed people.
I'm not in favor of raising tax figures. I mean, raising the tax rates. We need to expand. And one of the ways to expand is to formalize the economy. And the first point of call is having an identification card that would ensure that we know where people are and what they are doing. If you use your card to access any facility, people have to pay. Government has to receive money from what you're doing. And so this national identification card is one point that if we are able to roll out completely, it will help us to broaden the tax net so that not the same people working in formal institutions like yourself would have to be asked to cough more money to develop this country. Let's ensure that some of these innovative ideas that are coming up, and we need support from my friends in the NDC. If we do it well,
they are derailing
yes,
the progress.
Yes. They especially with the national identification card. It is one.
Well, they are raising
major
issues.
Well, issues will come.
Issues that are all intended to strengthen the.
Exactly, issues will come, but they should not stop us from going ahead with it. What issues are we raising here? We are raising issues about not allowing what is it?
Some forms of identity.
Some forms of identity, like the voter's identity, to be used to register. But there are other alternatives. Even whilst we are at it, if this thing stalls the next 2-3 months, we would have taken 2-3 months off the timetable, and it's not going to augur well. Even if you have to go to court, you can still go to court
while the process
continue. But to advocate for boycott is to.
What if you're in court, the authority tells you are finished with it?
We are finished with it. This registration is going to go on forever. It's never going to end. It's never going to end. Initially, yes, we would have to have a cut-off point at a point. But every time you need your ID card, you can have an opportunity to go and do it. So please, come on board. Let's formalize the economy, and then we can raise more taxes, not necessarily raising the rate of tax and then taxing people who are already paying. That is putting so much stress on the Ghanaian.
Expanding the tax.
May I?
Improving the economy.
May I?
You have the floor.
I would...
Forgive him.
No, I would take it up from where he left off.
I haven't done anything for people forgiven.
Oh, yes. And then deal with the tax aspect. You see, this national identification issue,
he's saying that it's going to be the panacea, or the platform by which we can exponentially.
No, it would help a great deal. It will help a great deal. But the point is this: the program started in 2007. When we took over, we made efforts to continue with it. They came, and in November they brought an amendment. I want us to deal with this matter in a very, very discerning manner. They rushed to Parliament. Then we pointed it out to them that even the amendment you are seeking is not being gazetted. So they withdrew the bill on the 18th of November and relayed it. I think on the 14th, and relayed it on the 14th of November. Speaker referred it to our committee, not under certificate of agency. I have checked the Hansard. It was just referred to us to work. But when we met, we were told that we were to consider it under certificate of agency. So some of us began to read meanings to what the government intended to do. The committee met. We raised the issues. that you can't say that you will not rely on the voter's ID. Our position is simply that about 80 million Ghanaians are known to be in possession of voters' ID on our voters register.
18 million?
Yes. Why? Look at the turnout. It's only about 11 million participate in the elections.
I think the last official figure we had
15 million.
was around 15.
It was around 15 million.
Because
I disagree.
No,
hold on.
don't disagree.
Hold on.
Because
why? The voter turnout was about 50 point something.
No, listen. Relax.
Hold on.
Relax.
Very well.
So,
very well. 15.
About 15
We
million.
went.
So,
there was
hold
a court case that even had a ruling saying that we should clean the register. So we came to around 15. Yes. It was expected to go up to that level of 17.
Roland, over 50 million Ghanaians are in possession of voters' ID.
Supposed to be.
Yeah. So we are saying that if you want this process to be more effective, that is the database of people that you should be concentrating on, not people who are in possession of birth certificates and passports. Then they said, no. That decision to exclude the voters' ID card was based on the Abu Ramadan decision.
And at which level are you talking at? The committee level?
The committee level. So when
and who
we
was
check,
raising it?
for instance, I raised it. My senior James Agaga also raised it. When we raised it, then they were flagging the Supreme Court decision. So when they do that, you are minded to concede. When we check the law, the Supreme Court didn't say that. The Supreme Court only mentioned the voters' ID card procured using NHIS card. So we drew their attention, but they said no. Then we said, okay. But the voters' ID card should still be a source of collecting information. So we made an omnibus clause as part of the amendment, so that if the person is not in possession of a birth cert, is not in possession of a passport, when the person submits his voter's ID card, he should be able to rely on it and register him or her. As soon as the amendment was carried, the implementing agency, which is the NIA, now is saying that that is not the interpretation they will place on that omnibus clause. And what they will do is that when you come and you are in possession of a voter's ID card, yes, they will look at it, they will take the information all right, but they will not register you based on the voter's ID card. You must necessarily be in possession of a birth cert or a passport. This is where we have the problem. So now
why do you have a problem? They are saying that they will facilitate the acquisition of a birth certificate and ultimately a passport.
Would you allow me? This is where we have a problem, because we have discovered that the government is implementing this with a certain political agenda. Why?
Perceived.
Yes.
You are perceived.
Yes. For instance, in the Volta region, I was part of the team that raised the concerns 3 days ago. We have received letters, all right? Well, we have seen letters transferring the head of the births and deaths registry in the region.
Normal administrative transfer.
Exactly. Would have taken it to be so. But you are directing her office in the region not to do any births and deaths registration.
She's knowing. So once the head
Sorry?
is knowing.
Why? The office should be able to function. There should be other staff subordinates who should be able to do normal registration for even newly births or newly.
And you envisage that within this period, then there will be an influx of people wanting to.
Exactly, because we have put out notice. Hold on. You see, the whole thing is planned. You have put out notice that in the Volta region, you are going to start the registration in September. And you have put out notice further that if you are not in possession of a passport and or a birth cert, you will not be eligible to participate.
September is 9 weeks away.
Brother, you know this is
all
right.
Oh, this is true.
You know this is.
You haven't seen the letters.
It is not true. It is not true that if you are not in possession of. It is not true.
We're discussing the economy.
It is not true that if you are not in possession of birth certificate and passport, you will not be allowed to register. It is not true.
I will be very happy if this is the position.
It is not true.
So why is the minority? Let me finish.
Okay, make your point.
This is what the minority has been saying.
It is not true.
But we have other means by which you can be identified as
Hold
a
on.
Hold on.
I don't want to go there.
Why?
How many? You are saying that if, for instance, your cameraman
Has registered.
no.
Let's say we're a community.
No.
Take us as a community.
Hold on. Hasn't got a birth cert, hasn't got a passport, and he wants to register. He must be guaranteed by 2 other persons who must have
on the register. Yes.
who themselves must have registered.
Yes.
How can you get this in everyday communities?
Why can't you?
Why? You are giving me 1 month to roll out the registration in the whole of Volta region. And you are saying that
because they give the card
hold
instant.
on, Roland.
The card is given instant.
Roland, we are talking about implementation, the policy directives affecting effective implementation.
But you know this.
Hold
you
on.
can facilitate people in your community.
You are saying that,
together.
okay, if for day 1, I decide to join the queue, I don't have a birth cert, I don't have a passport, I am the first person in the queue. You are saying that for me to get registered, 2 other persons should guarantee for me who themselves must have already registered.
And you are saying in a small community can
yes,
happen.
it can happen, and it's possible that all of us in the queue that morning. Why? In my village, I don't think that the people with passport in my village are more than 20. That's a village with a population of about 1,000.
One person can guarantee for.
And I'm saying,
1,000 people.
So
when even if you have,
are you saying that the same guarantor can guarantee for more people?
Let me deal with the
people.
You see, you are presuming, you are doing a lot
but
of
you are presuming that 20 people have
based on
passports.
presumptions, a lot of presumptions. The practicalities
you have turned the discussion. Unfortunately, we're talking taxes. No.
I will deal with tax.
No.
And I'm saying
taxes.
The directives they have issued is so targeted
Taxes.
at the
Taxes.
voter.
My time is
It is not. It is
so
not.
the implementation of the
everybody in
NIA,
Eastern Region
instead
has
of
a
helping,
passport,
hold
right?
on, instead of helping
Give me the paper.
to improve our tax collection systems, you are rather implementing it for a political agenda.
That is not true. That is
all
not
right,
true.
and that is why you have difficulty.
The NIA is only implementing a law that has been passed by
Okay, that's not what we're discussing.
You are mischievously misinterpreting
You are a
the
member.
omnibus clause.
Okay.
You voted for
All
it.
right,
Okay,
you are
now let's come back to
mischievously
this.
interpreting the
You've made your point.
interpreting the
You've made your
clause
point.
erroneously.
You've made your point.
That is why the
and
matter
as a
is
result
before
of
the
that,
Supreme Court.
and as a result of
So
that,
what
perhaps
is-
we can't
yeah.
meet all that objective of expanding the tax net. But in this proposition, Dr. Osayasibe is even emphasizing the need for government to increase the value-added tax to 18.5%. And he says that the other welfare expenditures, I have to call them that, like the flagship free SHS, etc., for which government would need money to sustain the policy.
I will
18.5%.
still not advocate for increasing the rates of taxes.
Or VAT, for example.
Yes, of taxes including VAT. I would.
Why not?
I would. Why not?
I will
because
go for it. I don't think it's a bad idea.
I would not, because it is still targeting some formal,
Same people being taxed.
same people being tasked, and we will not get much. Even increasing it, we will not get.
That's not true.
We're not going to get much. We're not going to get much if we are able to expand. We are a country of 28 million, 30 million. More than half of us are working or have some economic activity, but less than 20% of Ghanaians are actually paying taxes. So what we need to do is to look at the means at which at least we can increase this number from 20% to about 80% of Ghanaians who have economic activity to be able to pay taxes. If we do that, we will get more money than just raising the taxes. And we don't need to open the Pandora box. As soon as you raise VAT, then you are going to raise payee rate, and then all these other taxes will come.
You're an employer, so you know.
Taxes are good, but overtaxing the population will also not help to develop. Because at the end of the day, you're going to pull people, especially people who are investing, are going to have to cough up more money, and then
on overheads.
And they may not be able to employ more people, which is the focus of the government. So yes, the easiest way to raise money is to increase the tax rates, but there are more effective, efficient, and innovative means.
But that's slow. It's a slow burner. We've been on it, digitization, etc., formalizing, roping everybody in, and it's been taking us years.
My brother, I am doing a research at the port, and if you look at the figures from
what the revenues are.
Yes, they are improving very, very highly. If we're able to replicate what we have been able to successfully done at the port to other sectors of the economy, you have no idea. But how would you go to the port to transact business if you don't have an ID card? Meanwhile, over the years, people have been working, and agents and all importers will be doing it, hiding behind other companies, and not paying realistic duties and tax rates. So, what I'm trying to say is that instead of just increasing the tax rates, let's find innovative means like we are doing. And I'll kudos to the vice president and the president for pushing the agenda of digitalization. This is the means by which we will be able to. It's not just the payment of the taxes, it's also the usage of the taxes. How are we going to ensure that we have value for money for the things that we do in this nation? If we collect all the taxes and then we give all of it to one person who would not do what he's supposed to do and pocket it privately, how are we going to develop as a nation? So let's find other means rather than just
have we gotten it skewed? We're just not realigning the policies, right?
Exactly, because we are even the tax levels that we are collecting, we are misapplying. Now, any Ghanaian who buys consumables in this country pays tax. Consumables.
The basic one.
The basic ones.
Which is
because you pay VAT. You pay when you buy milk, or you buy sugar,
because the importer or exporter may have paid VAT on it, which is transferred to the consumer.
Yes. So you pay, you buy milk, you buy exercise books. Go to a bookshop and you want to buy stationery for your child.
What you have bought, you paid VAT invariably in the pricing.
Exactly.
In the pricing.
Look, they calculate VAT on whatever you have purchased. The problem is, there are a lot of business entities that are not VAT registered.
I think the compliance rate has improved drastically based on the good work by the Ghana Revenue Authority.
You are not giving me the figures. When they come to Parliament, they complain.
That many businesses.
Exactly. So what is
are they working?
What is
are
the
they
tax
in good
compliance
working?
unit of GRA doing?
They've been working. I can tell.
It is not about
I've been
working.
Called several times over my registered business. So
and
I'm sure he's an employer. So
hold on. Then
and you too. I'm sure.
Then
you've gotten text messages now, don't you?
Yes.
Yes. Good.
Then I am saying the figures should be improving when they report to Parliament. But when the minister comes, the report is that we are still having revenue shortfalls as a result of the fact that we are not meeting our tax collection targets. And for me, it is not about even expanding the tax network. You can simply improve collection if you register more businesses as a result of the compliance. But there are a lot of corner shop businesses that are doing well, that are not issuing VAT receipts. Indeed, you get to some shops, they will ask you whether you want a VAT receipt or not.
Have you experienced it?
Exactly, and I insist that yes, you must give me you must give me a VAT receipt.
You insist?
I insisted. So even though those that are also registered under the VAT,
they are not complying.
Exactly. So the inspectorate division are not helping the country. You understand my point?
So if we increase the rate to 18.5%, what will happen?
Why? We'll resist it. We'll resist it. There's no need. They should rather improve on collection. And the inspectorate division should ensure that once you're operating businesses and your turnover is beyond a certain threshold, you must.
But somebody who sells oil in the market doesn't pay that.
You see, because
goes to Kede,
hold on,
or somewhere in Peku or Jessica and goes to bring.
No. Not tabletop businesses, not sole proprietorships. We are talking about volumes.
Yeah, but all those people need to be roped into the tax system. Is that not why we're saying that we need to?
No, that's not the point. Your volume must determine. You could be operating a small corner shop, but where your business volumes, your turnover is such that you must be registered. It is immaterial how big the structure is, your volumes. But they are not inspecting the books. When they go, they do underhand dealings and leave. They are not inspecting the books of the business people.
Yes.
If you inspect their books, i.e., their bank statements and all that, you will see that these people need to be registered.
I see.
And not necessarily just registering. They must be compliant. They must issue VAT receipts for any purchases that is done through them.
Yeah,
All right.
When we look two things, discretion and manual processes, manual and paper processes.
What's that?
Discretion. When we leave people to be able to decide whether or not to give.
So
back.
that leads to non-conformity.
Exactly, a non-compliance.
And also
Non-compliance.
where we are doing manual writing of things.
We should move away from
We should move away
you
from
are
it.
proponents.
We should
I think
move
in your
It's thesis,
pre-
you know, yeah.
no,
you
even
introduce-
Yes,
pre-decision
yeah,
to run
Yes,
for
I-
chairmanship, like you were.
Yes.
I'm not sure your party people would have got
I
that.
think the whole
digitalization.
we should.
He wants
And
a Wakanda world.
Until we get to people have become also sophisticated, and people are. We all take advantage of
Even semi-literate or illiterate people.
Yes, they
can,
would.
Can they do anything with
Exactly.
a smartphone?
It is easy. It is easy. Now, almost what is the penetration rate of mobile
Telephony.
mobile? It's all huge. I think Ghana, we are one of the highest users of
In
mobile
Africa.
In
Okay.
Africa.
I-
Rwanda is doing excellent in some of these things. Kenya,
But they are
is doing-
well educated. Go and check the literacy rate.
Yes,
of
so
that
we
country.
should. Even this will help us to also help us to educate
do
more
some
people.
literacy.
Yes.
Okay.
You see, one other problem we have run into is that
But so far,
the
the
exit
finance minister has been doing well.
the exit
macroeconomic
level
indicators
in
are
our
good.
educational system, the threshold is too low. In some countries, you don't exit until after your first degree. Somebody gets to
But he
class.
has to take money to keep you in school all this while.
No, somebody gets to
free
class
assistance.
6.
So it comes to free
Somebody gets to class 6,
it is finished.
and the person can decide not to continue.
No, it's not happening again.
It doesn't happen in some countries.
Under Nado, it's not happening.
Oh, please, this is partial. What they are doing is partial implementation.
I'm saying
It's
under
not
Nado,
partial.
it's not happening.
It is partial.
At least finish SHS.
Oh, please.
There's this story, and we know that it's falling out of all the issues of Charlotte Osei being taken out of office as a result of the recommendation that was made by the Chief Justice Committee to the President and all that. And the editor of the New Crusading Guide, Abdul Kukubako Malik, or Kukubako, has dragged the Attorney General to the Supreme Court over the removal of the chairperson. He avers in the rates that the Daily Guide has cited that the committee set up by the Chief Justice to investigate 6 allegations leveled against the EC boss and the 2 deputies acted in excess of his powers when it recommended the removal of the former EC boss and the 2 other deputies. According to him, the recommendation of the committee which occasioned the removal of the 3 EC officials is unconstitutional and by this reason null and void and of no effect. It's also challenging the decision of the CJS to establish a prima facie case against the EC officials based on just the allegations that were narrowed to by the committee out of the over 25 or just around 25 by the petitioners, with Article 146 of the Constitution being the inconsistent article by which the writ is saying the decision was taken. Let me start with you. You're the legal practitioner on board this morning.
In fact, the issues they have raised essentially were the issues I raised on Newsfile about 2 weeks ago. I have made the point.
Which is?
That the determination of a prima facie case is a judicial process. The Supreme Court has stated clearly in several cases the judicial steps you must take in making such a determination. And once you are doing that, you are no longer functioning in your administrative capacity. You are functioning as a presiding judge. And so when a petition comes before you and you are making a prima facie determination, you do so based, it's like an affidavit evidence before a court. The court won't consider any other document except your affidavit, that's your motion paper, and the affidavit and the exhibits attached. All right, whether or not to grant whatever prayer you are seeking is determined on the face of the affidavit. Now a petition comes. Look, when you perpetrate any form of fraud, however slight, against a court, it has to be frowned upon. So where a petition comes and we are told that as part of the petitioners was a name with a signature that was later determined to belong to a dead person, that ought to have ended the
whole process.
The whole process. Because you see, the supposed petitioners were
But it doesn't mean that they can't go and repetition.
Yes.
Come go and
let them do so. But the petition that they have brought is tainted with fraud. Ex nihilo fees. You can't put something on something and expect it to stand. The court cannot be scandalized with any form of fraud. And fraud vitiates all. That's the first point. But the CJ proceeded to make a prima facie determination. And the error she fell in is that the error of law that she fell in was that in making that prima facie determination, she now decided to recompose the grounds of the petition and narrow it from about 20-something to 6. So she has practically tampered and rehashed the petition.
You mean the committee?
No, the Chief Justice. Okay. She has tampered with the petition before forwarding it to the committee. She can't do that. All that she was supposed to do is to evaluate the petition as it came before her, make a determination, state the grounds, and forward everything to the committee of inquiry. But now she has practically rehabilitated the petition as it came, polished it, and handed it over.
Okay, let me just cut you. We're just getting news that veteran politician J.H. Mensah, who was a member of parliament, has passed on. He was 89. Has had great experiences. J.H. Mensah, Gold Coast, born in October 1928, is a founding member of the governing New Patriotic Party, had been in politics since the days of Kwame Nkrumah and served in 3 different ministerial positions under the John Kufuor administration. He was a former minority leader and a majority leader and held his last top government position in 2005
former finance minister,
when he was appointed senior minister by the Kufuor administration. His working experience dates back to 1953 when he was appointed as an assistant inspector of taxes by the colonial administration. The senior minister of government business also worked as a research fellow in economics at the University of Ghana between 1954 and 1958. He joined the United Nations Secretariat in 1958 as an economic affairs officer at the Center for Development Planning, Projections and Policies in New York, United States of America, UN headquarters. We also, in 1961, have it that Mr. Mensah was the head of agency at the National Planning Commission of the Government of Ghana, which drew and implemented the country's 7-year development plan under the government of the CPP, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, between 1962 to 1969. And then during the Progress Party, that's a PP administration, between 1969 and 1972, was the Minister of Finance and Economic Planning, as well as a member of Parliament. Well, so we have a lot of him. Just go to myjoyonline.com. You get the latest updates on that.
May his soul rest in peace. It's been a hard blow. I got the information this morning, and I was waiting for official release to make a point. Obviously, even the little you've said about J.H. Mensah shows how his contribution to the development of this nation has been. He's a stalwart in our party, a founding member of the party, and he's worked so hard. Condolence to the family, condolence to the wife and children, and condolence to the New Patriotic Party in Ghana. This is another blow just coming after the passing on of the former vice president. Ghana is really in mourning now. We wish that the Lord will give him safe rest, eternal peace, and those of us who have been left behind should emulate the excellent contributions that this great man has done for this nation and ensure that the legacy remains. I'm sure the party would issue a statement to commiserate with the family. I am really sad this morning.
And we should say that as a member of parliament, he was a Member of Parliament 1996 to 2000, 2000 onwards also for Sunyani East. And
also a Member of Parliament in the 70s.
Yes, yes, true.
A great tree has fallen. I knew him briefly. He spoke English like no other. His handwriting looks like that of a class 1 child. He writes one, you know. He writes like a child, but you can never mark his grammar. He was such a scholar. And when you were interacting with him, you see that this was a man of great intellect. You know, what fascinated me was the nature of his handwriting. He wrote, you know, if it's T,
cursive.
Yeah, no. If it's T, it's T. If it's H, it's H. He doesn't.
It stands on its own.
He writes like a child, but you know,
it was the way they were trained by the colonial education, and you have to go.
If it's E, it's E.
Not the handwriting we have these days.
No. But you can never mark his English. He was such an erudite speaker, you know, and for me, he remains one of our greatest parliamentarians and debaters. The Hansard, the way he constructs his language to make his point, and you recall that there's a famous phrase in Parliament or in our political circles where he referred to when they were then in opposition in '97. He was making a point, and he made a point, and the whole majority were on their feet and said, Mr. Speaker, the Red Indians are on their feet, referring to you know, the NDC members.
I think such people we have to celebrate.
Yes,
exactly.
yes, indeed.
At age 89, he's lived life.
It's a life well lived.
And he's contributed significantly. I rate him in the mode of Darocha, Peter Alajete. We also have Justice Annan.
And he was a pioneer in University of Ghana. They began University of Ghana in 48.
Yes.
They're the pioneer students.
Well, thank you, my guest this morning. And I have Fred Amankwasafo, a doctoral student, information systems, sharp, doing a research on how, you know, Ports is working with the current digital system being employed. What do you call it?
Digitalization.
Digitalization, he loves that word. And then Member of Parliament for South Dine. Tongo, Peve, Yemeni,
Bali,
all those communities are part of the constituency. South Dine. Roxanne Nelson Dapamapo is also a legal practitioner here in the studio. Thanks for joining me, Roxanne. You'll be going to a constituency this weekend.
Yes.
Please try. But let's move on.